Let's Talk Merrimack. I'm your host, sort of, for today, Jen McGinnis, and I'm here to introduce our recent Pride celebration here in Merrimack. The Merrimack Town Democratic Committee hosted a local Merrimack Pride, and our own Donna L spoke about her experience and background, and we were fortunate enough to have New Hampshire CD1 candidate Carleigh Beriont also share what Pride means to her and her campaign. So I hope you enjoy this episode and this celebration of Pride here in 2026 in Merrimack, New Hampshire.
Well, thank you all for being here today. I want to thank you for coming out, Merrimack Town Democrats. This is our annual Pride celebration. So, woo! All right. Thank you. I want to thank Rebecca Booten, who I think is making some gluten-free and allergen-free friendly desserts in the bakery. She's going to be out in a bit. And I want to thank Bite Me Cupcakes for hosting this event this year. Thank you. My name is Donna L and I am the chair of the Merrimack Dems. We have Jen McGinnis is on camera. She's the vice chair. We have a great show for you today. We've got lots of reps. We've got 8 state reps that are Democrats that are ready to file if they haven't filed already. Woo! Awesome. So I just wanted to take a minute and introduce you a little bit to my celebration story. I was a while ago at the Unitarian Universalist Church in Nashua on a Sunday in September during what was called a water ceremony. Nothing wicked profound, just everybody coming together and sharing their summer adventures with each other. So I'm standing up in front of the congregation, and I turn sideways, and I point to my belly, and I put water in the bowl, and I say, "This is from my OBGYN doctor's office." And the congregation erupts in applause with pure joy. And I can tell you, as a young lesbian, this was the first time that I ever felt celebrated. Today, I know that I owe the comfort that I feel here today to a lot of people. In 1950, there was a group of gay men who sat in living rooms and said, "We have to fight back. We have to organize, and we have to create some kind of an infrastructure against this police brutality." And they started an infrastructure that was not, and they knew it was not for them. But I think in their imagination, they knew it was for me. And then we have Harvey Milk in the 1970s. He marched from one end of San Francisco to the other with a bullhorn in his hand saying, "I see you. I love you. Come out." He encouraged people to come out of the closet and come into the streets. And he did so with dedication and love in his heart, and he let them follow him. March, chant, and be seen. And then there was college. Well, this is before, so I'm bouncing around a little bit, but when I graduated from college, I was not even a month out of college, and I'm standing in my parents' kitchen, well before I felt celebrated, and the phone rang. It was my dear friend, 23-year-old, handsome, gay man who told me that he had AIDS. And there I was in my parents' kitchen, not feeling celebrated, and I was just frozen. He was not the last person, the last gay man, my friends, that I had to say goodbye to. We all froze for a moment when we realized that nobody was coming to help. We had lost 500,000 bisexual and gay men. And when we realized that no one was coming to help us, we organized. We found the helpers, and we learned how to talk openly all the time, everywhere, to everyone about safe sex. We volunteered at HIV clinics after our jobs were over. We created meal chains to support people, and we fought back. In the spirit of organizing, of refusing to wait for someone else to show up, that's why we're standing here today. In Merrimack, in New Hampshire, at a time when LGBTQ rights across this country and across state houses across this country are being attacked. We're standing here not in a small way, but in the exact way we should be here. My 2 sons were born here in this community. I raised them here with the help of you. You taught me how to help them say the quiet parts out loud. I've been lucky to have found you here. And now, to thank you, I roll up my sleeves and I give the love and the grace that you gave me back. I'm ready to fight for you, and we are ready to fight for them. And one of the ways that we fight is by making sure that this next generation doesn't do it alone. I'm honored to be surrounded by LGBTQ plus students every day, and they are my cherished teachers. You'll find QR codes on the tables around this event that are linked directly to New Hampshire Outright. New Hampshire Outright is an organization that nurtures, supports, and celebrates our young adults who have their first crushes and their first truly madly deeplies, and they do it out loud. And with all the humanness that I possess, I want to thank you for joining us in celebration. Woo! And our guest of honor today, we have, please welcome, a Hampton resident. She's a union organizer. You ready? She's a Hampton resident, a union organizer, a teacher, a local elected leader, and a mom of 2 who has spent her life strengthening communities and fighting for working families. Everyone, please welcome New Hampshire Congressional District candidate Carleigh Beriont.
Hi, everybody. My name is Carleigh Beriont. Let me put this down for a second so we don't blow away. I just got to say thank you again to Donna for helping to organize this, for being so inspiring, for being an absolute badass, and for showing up in all the ways that you do for every single person in our communities. Like, thank you for doing that work. And it's not just you, Donna, like, it's all of the teachers and the parents and like the big sisters who show up. And like, I am a big sister. I have 2 younger sisters. They're both married to women. I officiated one of their weddings, and like, one of them lives in Michigan, one of them lives in Rhode Island. And like, when we were in high school, I helped start a gay-straight alliance because my sister wanted to bring her girlfriend to the prom, and our school wasn't sure how they felt about that. And like, I know that me showing up for them and people showing up for them in Michigan and in Rhode Island has enabled them to be like strong, healthy, happy, awesome members of the community. It's enabled me to raise 2 kids with 2 aunts who are married to women and have that be the most normal and perfect and wonderful thing in the world. And I am just so grateful for this because I know that it wasn't always this way. I have not talked about this ever on the campaign trail, but I have an uncle, my godfather, my mom's little brother, who passed away from complications of HIV, AIDS, and he did not have the same kinds of people in his life that I feel like so many of us are for the people in our lives. And this is so urgent now more than ever. So I am Carleigh Beriont. I am grateful to be here with all of you today. I am proud to stand with members of the LGBTQIA community, not just now, but always. And it's one of the reasons I'm running for Washington. I'm running to represent us in DC. As Donna mentioned, I am a union organizer, and I chair the select board in Hampton. And when we say union organizer, I mean I organized a union. And that was really hard to do because there were 4,000 people in our bargaining unit, and we all wanted very different things. And navigating that, bringing people together and holding them together, going on strike until we got a contract, was a really valuable learning experience. And it's something that a lot of people who are in Washington clearly don't have background doing. And I think that's one of the reasons that we have such polarization and dysfunction right now. So I have spent the past year of my life driving around this district. I have been in every single corner of CD1, all the way up to Conway, all the way down here in Merrimack, over on the Seacoast and in the Lakes region. And everywhere I've gone for the last year, I have asked people, what do you wish that politicians understood better about your experiences? Because we need leaders who listen, first and foremost, so that we can work together, so we can organize and show up in the ways that we need to, so we can build power and make change. And over the course of this year, it hasn't just been hearing things, it's been watching what we have been able to do. While the things at the national level feel like they are totally out of hand right now, like you have seen right here in Merrimack with people like Wendy Thomas, your state rep, who has helped make sure that we don't get an ICE facility in Merrimack, right? Who has made sure that we have clean drinking water and the people who are poisoning us are held accountable. And we need people who are able to do that, to speak with that kind of authenticity and specificity about what's going on in our communities, to represent us in DC. So I have a couple of things that I would like to share with you today, but the first thing that I really want to do is get a sense from all of you about what you are looking for from our next representative. Because I think of representation as a relationship, or as a conversation that begins here. And I also see a huge part of this campaign, of the organizing and the building power, as ensuring that we have good candidates who are successful in their runs for State House. So as you all know, you have 8 Democrats who are going to be running to represent Merrimack next November. I know that we have Mary Beth here. Everyone say hi to Mary Beth.
Hi, Mary Beth.
All right, Mary Beth is going to be awesome. She is a climate warrior in so many fabulous ways. You also have Matthew, who is 18 years old and who cares so much about education funding, right? Running for office. Is there anybody else here who is running for state rep? Awesome, okay.
Heather Robitaille.
Heather Robitaille is also running for state rep, and you're going to see these 3 names and 5 others on the ballot in November, and you are going to vote for them, because we need a state house that is receptive to us in order for us to live the kind of lives that we imagine for ourselves and our kids. So a couple of different things. Because it is a Pride Week, I also want to take a moment to just chat about Pride and what we need to be doing in Washington, D.C. to ensure that members of the LGBT community are feeling supported in their homes. Now, one of the things that I often get asked on the campaign trail is like, how do you feel about trans kids and trans sports and trans issues? And I say, I feel like Republicans are really going out of their way to make life difficult for a lot of people right now, and that sucks. So one of the things that I'm going to ask you to do is to consider showing up and signing on to the bill that is going to be debated in Concord next week about whether or not our state should pass legislation that prohibits trans people from using the bathroom. This is a huge problem, and if you listen to trans people who have had these experiences, you hear from them that they're getting like UTIs and holding it in all day, and like this is not acceptable. So these are things that are kind of hard to talk about sometimes, but I would ask us to put ourselves in the shoes of our friends and neighbors and students and kids who are not able to do normal things like go to the bathroom because we have a government that is hell-bent on making their lives more difficult instead of enabling people to just live their happy, free lives. The other thing, yes, go for it.
I was
Yes.
under the impression that the past governor of New Hampshire and the present have said, no, we are not doing that.
Yes.
Are we fighting one more time?
We're fighting one more time. Yeah, we're gonna have to keep doing, I know, it's crazy that we have to keep doing this.
Yeah.
So I think after having conversations with members of 603 Equality and NH Outright and a couple of people who have been really involved in this legislation at the State House, and a lot of people who have been really active in testifying against it and protesting, that this year it actually does seem kind of likely that our current governor, Carleigh Beriont, who is running for re-election, is very likely to sign a piece of legislation to this end. Now, I don't know if she will, but I do know that if we're there vocally protesting that, it is less likely that she will. And it is our obligation to make sure that we don't rest on our assumptions about what she will or will not do, but we take an active role in determining the outcome of legislation like this. So that's a really good question, and it's crazy that we're still doing this, but here we are. So again, the reason that I'm running for Congress is because everywhere I've gone talking to people, you know, Democrats, Republicans, a lot of undeclared voters who are the majority of people in New Hampshire right now, I hear that people want to be safe in their homes. They want to afford to live here. They want the temperature and like the vitriol turned way down, and they want a functioning government. And this includes members of the LGBTQIA community, right? Like when you ask trans people or LGBTQ people, what do you want? They don't say, I want to be special. I don't want special protections. I want to be able to afford to live here, right? I want to be able to go to school. I want to play sports, to have healthcare that's affordable and that I'm able to navigate. And so I think this is something that we can all agree on and we can support, rather than seeing it as a wedge issue or something that divides us. And so in addition to, you know, saying, okay, this is important for us to focus on here in Concord, I also need us to recognize that what's happening in Concord is being magnified by what we're seeing down in Washington, D.C. right now. And these issues of healthcare are issues that we need representatives to help us navigate. How many people here have had a hard time like dealing with an insurance company bill, or being upcharged for something, or a prior authorization, or have had to spend time and money figuring out something, right? This is a broken system, and it was designed to be broken, and we need people who can go to Washington to help us fix it. So I want to say just essentially that I'm running because, you know, in Hampton, I see how many people are literally hanging on by their fingernails right now, and it's not okay. Like, we have little kids who are going to daycare who have nowhere to go at the end of the day because their families can't afford to keep them housed. We have teachers. My daughter's second grade teacher works 3 jobs so that she can keep her 2 kids in the same town where she is a teacher. And there are things that we can do in DC, such as providing and asserting that we need universal health care that covers people from the day they are born until the day they die. And those types of things are good for everybody, and they will also lower our municipal and school budgets, which is really important because the cost of living in New Hampshire is so high right now, right? We need people who can explain to us that we need to fully fund our public schools, and that will help us, you know, teach our kids, because every kid deserves a free and appropriate public education. But again, because the Democratic Party has not always been as loud and proud as I think it needs to be when it comes to saying they are going to be fighting for and protecting marriage equality, I want to make it really clear to everybody here that I'm somebody who fully supports a trans bill of human rights. And this is something that is very basic, and it assures that people have access to housing and healthcare and education and public spaces, and that they are not discriminated against in their places of work. You can read more about this on my website, and I would encourage you and invite you to do so, or to enter a conversation with me. I'm also somebody who really supports the Equality Act, right? And this is legislation that's been introduced for decades now. And again, it's just to make sure that everybody has equal protections under the law. And that is the kind of government that we need, because that's the kind of government that will enable us all to thrive and to live our lives and to care better for ourselves and our family members and our community members. There's a couple other things that I will say, but first I want to ask for questions or things from the audience here today. So what are your thoughts, feelings? What do we want to see in Washington, D.C.? What do you think our politicians are not understanding or not prioritizing to the degree you would like to see them prioritize? Yes. What do we think? Yeah, Heather.
I would like to see a stop to all the special interest funding that goes into political campaigns and buys politicians so that they're no longer representing their constituents.
Yeah. Okay, so who here thinks that money in politics is a problem? Yes. Okay, so money in politics is a poison. It's truly a problem. And one of the things that I have promised to do to be part of the solution and not further exacerbate that problem is I promise to take no corporate PAC money, because corporate PAC money is something that basically means that we have politicians who are listening to corporate donors and their stories and their needs rather than the stories and needs of the people who live here in the district. And I say this as someone who has shown up in places that haven't seen a Democrat in literal decades here in New Hampshire, because I really do want to represent everybody as effectively as I possibly can. And everybody means the people who live here in New Hampshire and not the people who are not paying their fair share right now. Especially in New Hampshire, that means corporations who have an outsized role in our political system. And it also means the ultra wealthy who are not paying their fair share. And what that means is they simply are literally not paying their taxes. The most of us pay our taxes because they're withheld from our paycheck. Right now, the IRS does not go after the people who do not pay their taxes. And over the next few decades, this is going to cost us $52 trillion. This is absurd. I'm not even talking about new taxes that we add to the ultra wealthy. I'm just talking about them paying the taxes that they are owed under our current system. I also do believe that our current system is deeply broken, and that people like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos paying less than anyone who's a public school teacher is outrageous, and it needs to stop. But yeah, money out of politics is a huge problem, and it's a huge, money out of politics is a huge priority for me because it is such a huge problem. And it's making it so that we don't trust our political system or the people that we're putting in power to do our job for us, and that makes people cynical, and that makes them stop participating. And if we give up our opportunity to shape the system that we live in, then we have no hope for our future, right? There is no hope for working people if we don't take an active role in ensuring that there is room for working people at the table. So what other types of questions do we have, or worries? What are the things that keep you up at night and make you really angry right now? or maybe things that give you hope. Carol.
So, I'm a bit of a Pollyanna. I'd
Yeah.
like to see less dysfunction in
Yeah.
D.C. and more of an attempt between both parties.
Yeah.
Reaching across the aisle and getting something done.
Yeah.
It's so polarized that I'm looking for people to represent me
Yeah.
anyway, who are willing to reach out, to talk, to keep the dialogue going.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I mean, this is why I love municipal government. So I serve in local office. Hampton is a really purple community. We have 17,000 residents in the winter time, and we have 150,000 people in the summertime. And Angela, I know you were on the budget committee, so you get this. Budgeting for communities that have lots of changes or variability is really challenging. And if you look at our budgets, again, healthcare expenses, not being able to borrow enough to invest in municipal sewer or water treatment. These are things that our federal government can help us with, and they're things that we all agree on. When we have these conversations on the select board, we pass almost everything 5-0. The Republicans and the Democrats agree on what we need to do to make our communities a better place. And it's when things are done for different incentives, right? It's to go viral on social media or raise a lot of money rather than helping people take care of themselves that we see these divisions forming. And so I'm somebody who sees myself as capable, willing and able, and having had a record of working with people from anywhere on the political spectrum, as long as they're going to make life better for working people here in New Hampshire. And it's something that so many of us agree on, and it's why I'm really proud to have endorsements from people across the political spectrum right now. People who recognize that it really isn't about being a progressive or a moderate. It's about representing the people or representing the status quo. And we have a choice to make in September about who we want to represent us. Do we want to continue down the path that we're on, right? That is a possibility that we can vote for, or do we want to do things differently? And I'm running because I can't continue spending, my nights and my weekends writing the postcards and volunteering and giving my money to Democrats and listening to these promises and having nothing change. We can't keep doing this as a country, right? We deserve so much better, and we have it in our power, especially here in New Hampshire's 1st District, to change that. We live in one of the only ungerrymandered districts in the entire country. That means that we could credibly have a Democrat or a Republican who comes out and represents us after November. Almost everywhere else in the country, the districts are so gerrymandered that whatever politician who decides to run in that race has already won before they even run in the race. But we do not have that here. We have a legitimate choice about who we want to represent us in Washington. And I think that's incredibly exciting. That's incredibly exciting, right? And it should encourage us all to be more of a part of the political process, because we can do that here in a way that almost nobody else can. And because the rest of the country is going to be looking at us here in New Hampshire to see what we do in September and then in November, because that's going to be the direction that the Democratic Party takes. So what other questions do we have? Any other questions or thoughts? Yes.
I work in a residential school for children that have problematic behaviors.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we try to talk to them about is, what changes they personally can make in their own lives to determine their future. When it comes to politics, the vast majority of teenagers that I talk to have absolutely no hope, to the point where they are straight up apathetic and they do not care, because they already see that nothing has changed in their lifetime or their parents' lifetime or their grandparents' lifetime. So they've lost faith in adults. And I want to know what you're doing to bring in specifically marginalized youth and youth in general in New Hampshire who feel like their voices have no purpose and that nothing will ever change. What are you doing to reach out to those people specifically and encourage them to take back their power politically?
Yeah. So the first thing I want to say is thank you for bringing this up, right? And the reason that young people feel this way is because it's true. They have no political power, and the generations above have really profoundly failed us at this point. And I say this as somebody who was sitting in a classroom in 2016 when Trump got elected for the first time and looked at my teachers who said, it's going to be okay, we've been through things like this before, and then didn't proceed to act with the type of urgency and courage that the moment, I think, demanded of us. And after Donald Trump won the election again in 2024, I was on the other side of that. I was the teacher, and I felt really truly horrified by how many of my students felt like there was no point in doing anything. Like no point in having kids or getting a job or having a career or making an impact in the world around them because they felt like it was out of their hands. And I think that's really, really scary. I think that's a real problem, like this cynicism. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned how people from Nashua to Merrimack came out and protested time and again against the detention. In Little Nottingham, they have
with the AI center,
a data center. That's a little town, surrounded by Raymond and all. So it's in numbers. Don't think you're alone. And this is the move on idea. First of all, don't think you're alone. You're part of a community. We have to help them find that community.
So part of it has to do with
college kids so threatened with their vote because it's a powerful, involved community at that age level. They're looking forward to jobs. They're looking forward to healthcare. So,
but the question, right? Like you're right about this. I think community is the answer, and I see you shaking your head that community is not the answer. And so we can have this conversation. I'm happy to. I want to also answer the question about what we are doing specifically on this campaign to bring in young people. But I also want to make sure that people realize that it's not just young people being lazy or feeling like they're cynical. A lot of young people are spending their time on social media platforms that have been systematically designed to alienate and isolate them and to make them feel hopeless and alone. And these corporations spend millions and millions of dollars. Meta alone last year spent $25 million lobbying Congress to ensure that there were no protections for consumers. And this is a huge problem. So one of the things that I think is a DC focus would be to make sure that, we're holding these corporations accountable for the harm they are doing and ensuring that they are regulated. And this goes all the way from the AI stuff to the tech stuff. But what we're doing on the campaign is we're showing up. We're showing up in classrooms. We are showing up in community spaces, in driveways like living rooms, high school cafeterias, wherever there are people. We have been at UNH on a regular basis before the latest court decision came down that said, okay, this new requirement that college students or people who are registering to vote for the first time have a birth certificate or a passport. Before that was thrown out, which it has been now in the state of New Hampshire for the time being, that is no longer the case. We were helping college students get registered to vote. And I'm really proud that we have a huge number of high school students and college students from a variety of different political, economic, and social backgrounds who are working on this campaign. And they're not just out there posting stuff online, they're actively helping us shape our strategy and our direction, telling us where to go and how we can get people more involved. And the way that you get people more involved and the way you get people to believe that they can make a difference is to involve them and demonstrate to them the difference they are making, right? So if they say, hey, I'm in my early 20s, I'm living at home with my parents because I wanted to become a kindergarten teacher, but I graduated from UNH this year with $90,000 in student debt, and instead I'm waitressing, until I can figure out what I'm going to do with my life. It's not enough just to say, hey, I'm going to make sure that we pause the interest rates on student loans, or, we make community college more accessible for people. That's really important, but it doesn't meet the urgent need that people have right now to be part of something and to recognize the role that they can play. And so my response to that is always to ask, how do you want to get involved in my campaign? Whenever I see young people, I ask this question. So I'm going to ask you, Bridget, how do you want to get involved in my campaign? Oh, damn it. What's your name?
Danielle.
Danielle. All right, Danielle, how do you want to get involved?
I would love to see opportunities for marginalized youth to participate more so than just the traditional white faces that we see around the stereotypical boomer, Gen X people. I want to see young people, specifically the millennials that are coming up. We have people that are Gen Z that are about to be voters, and none of them see the point. And I have a daughter that is going into her junior year of high school.
Yeah.
And she is fighting tooth and nail to make sure that young ladies and other people in her specific group of friends are not giving up their right to vote simply because they don't see a point.
Yeah. Well, here's my phone number. So if you want your daughter to get involved, tell her to call me. Because that's how we do it. Yeah. And I would love her to be part of this. Absolutely. So do we have other questions for me about the campaign or how we can get more people involved? We also have a paid fellowship program for young people so that they can afford to work on the campaign. And so that's really important. And so if she's interested in that, Jackson is our project manager, and they can get in touch with you afterwards. Yeah. But again, it's about building something that's for everybody, right? And recognizing that like everybody really does have a role to play in shaping our democracy and our future. And I come out really strong on a day like today, especially in support of LGBTQ rights, because it really worries me that there are so many Democrats who say we can't talk about this. Mr. Rogers always says that if it's mentionable, it's manageable. And there's so much that we can do to recognize that the situation that we are in right now, where people are being systematically deprived of their rights, whether they're young people, whether they are women, whether they are members of the trans community, whether they are Black people who are disenfranchised by the changes to the Voting Rights Act. Like, there are things that we can do about this. We have to do them, though. Like, the other thing, this is gonna be crazy, 2 Mr. Rogers quotes in one day. You can tell I have 2 small kids. The other thing that he always says is, like, you have to do things to make them happen. You have to do things to make them happen, and there is no substitute for organizing. And that's why I'm really proud of like the grassroots organization that we've put together. We have over 1,000 people who have signed up to volunteer for this campaign. 1,000 people. Like, I have been on the campaign trail now for 1 year. And what I have done in the past year is I have put together a grassroots organization that has leaders in every single town in this district who are organizing their friends and their neighbors. Because it isn't just about me, it's about us and who we want to sit at the table and make the decisions that shape all of our lives next year. I'm running because like we can't keep doing the same things in this country and expecting different results. And because I think I would be a really good representative. I'm somebody who has spent the last decade of my life studying policy issues, teaching about policy issues, trying to understand why and where divisions come from and how we can navigate and move through those conflicts. And I think that those are skills that are underrepresented right now in Washington, D.C. I'm not here to advance like a Democratic Party political agenda. I'm here to advance what is good for us, what is good for our community, and that is based on listening to people for a year. And I feel like I'm the luckiest person in the entire universe because I have literally gotten to spend like a year of my life listening to people like Mary Beth, who is working so hard to figure out how to make like polluting the environment cost the people who are polluting the environment and put money back in our pockets, right? Like, these ideas come from you. And so that's why it's so important that people get involved in a campaign like this, because this is how we get our ideas into our reality. So if you want to be part of this campaign, I would love you to be part of this. I have my walk cards here. They have the opportunity for you to write back to me about what ideas you have or thoughts or questions, things that are frustrating you, things that are making you really hopeful, and what we can do about them, because that's where good policy comes from. And Ginger is right there. She has a clipboard. If you're interested in signing up for our emails, I would invite you to be part of that as well. We send out really wonderful emails on a very regular basis about how we can fix the housing crisis here in New Hampshire, how we can invest in municipal sewer and water, how we can ensure that people who are, in a Genesis facility that is going through bankruptcy protections are still getting adequate care in their nursing homes, and that nursing homes are fully staffed. And the kind of well is bottomless at this point because I've gotten so many great ideas from so many wonderful people throughout the state of New Hampshire. So I would invite you also to be part of our website, carleighberiont.com, if you're interested in learning more about the campaign. And you're also welcome to take one of my business cards. They have my phone number and my email address on them, and I would love to hear more from you about how you want to get involved in this campaign. And just again, say thank you to everybody who is here today for showing up on a hot Saturday morning at Bite Me Cupcakes, eating our beautiful rainbow fruit display, and getting to hear from some of the people who are going to be leading us through this very precarious political moment. So thank you to everybody, and of course to Donna.